Get your cocktails about the game script. A huge victory. We get on these streams and we put our heads together. Get your balls, put them on the table. We are live. We are, in fact, live. Happy Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, October 30th. To everybody that's out there in the chat today, excited to go over the card here with you guys. It is the sports equinox. We're not blessed with this type of action every single day, and that's what makes it so special. We've got all four Major League Professional Sports in play tonight. World Series game number 3. We've got the National Basketball Association moving into the completion of its first full week of action. We've got a packed NHL card for their third week of action. And of course, Monday Night Football. The Las Vegas Raiders, versus them Detroit Lions in first place out there trying to do their thing as well. It's going to be an action-packed card. You guys know the situation. We're going to start with a recap. We'll break down Friday's action. We did have a profitable day on Friday. Just a quick high-level overview of last week, and then we'll get into the action here. We're going to start with the National Basketball Association here. I know a lot of games on the card tonight. I want to say there's 9 NBA games. Might even be 10 at last count. There's 8 NHL games. There's an NFL game, and, of course, World Series game number 3. So we've got a lot to cover. I appreciate everybody in the chat. First and foremost, that's our first stop here of the day, is to appreciate everybody taking their time to come in here and spend it with me as we dive into this card. And of course, shout out to my guy T, our producer extraordinaire on the ones and twos, helping me keep the wheels on the track at the end of the day here. We got everybody's just starting to pile in. I appreciate that. Now, if you guys could do me the favor and like and retweet the promo piece that's out there on Twitter. Make sure you throw the thumbs up if you like what you hear on this video for YouTube as well. Trying to crack into this market. It's a saturated market, but pub sports, the commitment to excellence that we all try to bring to the table every day with our actual plays makes it important that you guys help us spread the word. Appreciate everybody here. Big O says Big Monday. New Monday, new money, my guy. Let's go. Justin, Stacks play of the day. He's got that Raiders team total under 19.5. I like it, Justin. And congrats on getting to 500, my guy. 90 and 90. Most impressive. It's 180 plays. The guy's been consistent day in and day out, sharing his hard work and his action with us. Just trying to give you guys another look that he's taken to the window to get that cash. Bo Jackson says LFG. Hell yeah, Bo Jackson. Let's go, baby. Director 97 in the house for another show with Pimp Slap. Appreciate you, Director 97. Tori Coker, let's all hit that like button. Appreciate all the kind words, my guy. EQ says last call. That's right, last call. Last call happens to be the first call for alcohol here, but we'll get there when we get there. Of course, Perky Sanderson, big thanks to the PSR team. Great channel dedicating the time to us. Let's get some muffins indeed. And of course, Fleet Mathis kicking the show off here says, let's start this week off right. Appreciate everybody dropping in. And again, we'll give it a few more moments for everybody to funnel in here. We'll start with a recap from last Friday. We had a 6-5 day. So it was a day in the black, but it was kind of a middling day all around. We're 5-4 on the lean, 6-5. I did make a decision that I'm going to go to a quarter unit play on all the leans. I hate to put them out there, but we're just having such a strong run here to kick this show off that instead of just having them out there as maybe I get to them later, I am making them quarter unit plays. And then maybe I'll add more action to them as I get closer and throughout the evening. I put this stuff together with T early in the afternoon on the East Coast, but some of these games don't go until 10, 11 o'clock East Coast time, which means there's still 4 hours of data to pile in and sift through to kind of make some of those leans official plays. We'll look at this card here and kick it off. We had that Charlotte game on Friday, went under 226.5. The Darren rebound spot at 10.5. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. That was a plus money spot. I don't think we're going to see that plus money on him any longer. We lost at Denver -5. I know a lot of people like that spot too, and we just couldn't get it done. We've got Brown over 19.5 points came in for us. Kawhi's 3-pointers did not get the job done. The parlay with Atlanta, the Kings, and Orlando was a shortcomer as well. We lost a unit there. That was a 4.5 to 1 type of shot that we took, and we didn't get there. But we did well in the NHL. we got the Capitals. They came through. We got that San Jose under 6.5. Lost to Vancouver first period over 1.5. Did cash that LA Kings game. That was a lot of fun for anybody that was watching us on some of those live streams. Man, that team went down 4-1, and I started pounding away on that live line at plus 550, just because I was probably inebriated, coupled with my feet glued to the pedals, because I was so strong in my conviction about the Kings being a buy-on team and the Coyotes being a sell team. Then, of course, in baseball, we did not get the Nerfy. We lost that no-run first inning. It was a 6-5 day, though. You'll see our record here for this show and this program is positive. We're 30-28. We're up 1.51 units for the first week. A lot of adjustments to get through here. A lot of getting plays in earlier, making sure that we've got the information together so that we can share this information with you guys as you jump on this show for the last call. But we'll get it right. We'll figure this thing out. We'll continue to tweak and adapt as necessary. It's all about getting money in our pockets. And, we got to get that right kind of measurement between the volume of plays and finding those winners so that it is a profitable show. 34-25 in our leans was 11.25 units. That's what kind of made my eyes pop and say, you know what? I'm not just going to leave those on the cutting room floor. We're going to make sure that we incorporate those and get some play on them. So still going to measure them as leans, but overall, wanted to make sure that you guys kind of understood the strategy that I'm having out there. I don't want to just put these things out there and not capitalize on them when I feel they're good spots. So the question is going to be, as I evolve through the evening, do I go more than a quarter unit on those leans? And in fact, I probably will in some cases. It just depends on the number or volume and action that we have out there. But T, let's roll into this puppy here. We're going to start with you guys, the National Basketball Association. Again, I appreciate everybody taking the time to drop in here on Monday. It's show number 6 for the last call. And I see over 60 viewers out here already. Make sure you guys please hit that like button, share the messaging, let them know we're here. Hottest damn show moving into the 6 o'clock window Eastern on YouTube, and partnered with Axe. Here we go. We're going to kick this first game off. First game I looked at here, I had to lock down the Indiana Pacers. The line is currently at 3, and I'll give you guys let me pull up my dashboard here to break down this cash flow money line split action here. We've got a 40% of the bets, only 15% of the cash on the Bulls. And we're seeing that number's kind of dropped from 4 to 3.5. In some cases we see 60% of the bets, 85% of the cash on that Pacers -4, now down to -3 as well. Look, I'm going to be straight to the point on this one. We got a lot of games to cover here. Not happy with what I'm seeing out of the Bulls here. They had that players only meeting. I talked about that last week. We had Chicago, I think twice last week. We went 1-1 and split the results with them. But that players only meeting after the first game kind of said, hey, something's not right. What they've done is they kind of switched to an ISO ball situation after that. Since then, over the course of the weekend here and a couple of games deep, they've only got one win, and it was an overtime win. So, to me, you got two teams heading in opposite directions. You've got Rick Carlisle getting the head coach extension job for Indianapolis as they're trying to get this rebuild and complete this rebuild. They're trying to turn that season back around, or that team back around. They added Bruce Brown. They're first in the division. And what's interesting enough is this team, when you look at these two teams particularly, and you've got, the Pacers and the Bulls, the highest point differential between these two teams of any two teams in the Eastern Conference. So, again, kind of a buy spot for Indy, a sell spot for the Bulls. The Bulls have DeRozan and Levine. Levine's been on a day-to-day situation. And, of course, Vucevic out there. But with DeRozan, he's been really underachieving in his point production as well. I did catch him on a live spot. But his pregame numbers were 20.5 for points last week, and I think it was Friday. From that 20.5, it closed around 25.5. He was able to knock it just on 20 on the head. Just to me, he's underperforming. He's not going around his expectations and what his season averages are, his career averages. But it is what it is, and they're trying to move forward and get their season back together. On the other side of things, you got Halliburton, Brown, Turner. To me, the Pacers, just a better team. The coach is a former NBA champion. And the Pacers have won 4 in a row. It goes back to preseason, but a couple other stats for you guys here to take a look at as we jump in and break this game down. You got a situation for road teams. When the road teams are up to a +6, the unders come through an alarming amount of times. It's 25-1 to the under. I looked at the splits for this game. I saw 227, moved up to 227.5, and there's even some numbers out there that are up to 230s. So, for me, I didn't get there officially on the under. I got 53% of the cash and 78% of the money, rather, the bets versus money on this over. And it's starting to climb. So my strategy for that side of the house is going to be to consider a live bet there, potentially push that thing down. But the big factor for me, when it came to these unders as well, I saw that after a team's got a combo where they've lost 3 straight games in a row without covering the spread, that fourth game, that team's 44-69 on the money line. That is the Chicago Bulls, have not covered all season. And it's 39-69 to the under as well, going under by over 5 points. So kind of some double scenarios that support the under. But for me, I like this play a ton. I just took the Pacers on the money line. I locked it in at -145. That's going to be the first play that we launch this card off with today. We're going to roll right on here. You guys will see we got a lot of the association we're going to cover today. A lot more plays than I expected to come out of the NBA. I kind of wanted to try to break it down pretty consistently across the card, but we are where we are. So we'll roll right along here. Game number 2 that we're going to break down is this Boston Celtics Washington Wizards play today. And we'll jump in and talk right about these numbers off the hop here. The line opened at -9.5. We got a -10 out there. 67% of the bets, 40% of the cash on them Boston Celtics. The total opened at 228. We're seeing 231.5s out there now in some cases. 42% of the bets, 35% of the cash on the under. So the bigger bets, the sharper bets, if you will, are starting to support that over. My play in this game is going to be on this under. I almost got there with Washington at +10. But ultimately for me, the deciding factor in this game, we've got road teams when they're between a -14 and a +3. They're 28-2-2 to the under, and it's going under by 11 points. As long as it's early in the season, right? So it's got to be an early quarter part of the season matchup here. Road teams that are coming off a home game where they shot less than 50% from the arc, beyond the arc, 27-2 spot as well. So I'm tracking some of these trends. We'll continue to talk about them as they start to mature, but it's so early in the season that some of these numbers kind of do tick back to last year. Again, my spot for this game here is just kind of looking at this number scenario. We're seeing the unders out there and specifically the splits, kind of starting to drive that number up, but I want to get underneath it there. Road teams between -14 and +3 are 28-2-2 to the under early in the season. If they're playing a conference opponent that was not favored by more than 10 points their previous game. So basically what it's telling me is in a situation where they're playing a team that wasn't a huge favorite their last game, then the Celtics should be coming in here, playing it tight, playing it competitively. And I think we're going to be able to get underneath that 231.5. We'll keep the train rolling down the tracks. Lots of games to cover here. Game number 3 we're going to talk about is in a lean spot for me. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves. I had to jump on the Timberwolves here. I'll tell you guys again, splits wise, we'll look at the cash flow. We opened up at a -2. We're down to -1.5. Depending on the book, there are some 2s and 2.5s out there. So line shop appropriately and accordingly. 70% of the bets, 72% of the cash supporting that Minnesota Timberwolves side of things. But we're seeing a kind of a wonkiness in the number there. Wonkiness in that it's kind of -2, -1, +2.5, +3s. The money line spot is kind of what I like the most here. It opened at -130. It's down to -125. 79% of the bets, 62% of the cash on that Timberwolf side of things. And we saw it kind of drop a nickel. I'm going to discount that nickel drop because we also have a correlated drop on the Hawks side of things. The Hawks opened at +110 and they're at +115. So while we lost a nickel on the Timberwolf side of things, we also got that nickel on the Hawk side of things, and they kind of canceled each other out from the move. But at the end of the day, why did I get there when it comes to a lean? Well, the first quarter of the season, when the margin falls either between the threes or outside of the threes, meaning when the team's record the previous season was either +3 games better or -3 games worse outside the threes, meaning 4 games better record or 4 games worse record. The unders in these games come out to be 9-15 when they meet early in that next season. They're also 16-9. So very much have that record discrepancy here where they fall outside of the threes in terms of one team being better than the other team the previous season, and then correlating into the quarter start of the next season. That team that kind of finished stronger with the record is just going on there and starting stronger and playing solid defense to keep those games under. Just an official lean for me is this money line on the Timberwolves. Game number 4 that we're going to break down for you guys. We're going to take a look at this Blazers spot here. Blazers and the Raptors. Next game on the board here.
I missed this one. My bad, Mike.
We miss it?
Yeah, I missed it. My bad, Mike.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'll just talk about it then. I'll talk about it anyway. So as far as this game here, I got an official lean. It's a lean for me in this game here. I'll give you guys the breakdown with the numbers. We opened up the 64% of the bets, but only 22% of the cash are supporting that Portland Trailblazers team. The Trailblazers opened at +7. It's moved to 9.5. So the bigger bets are certainly coming in on that Toronto Raptors side. And it's supported with the move that we're seeing, almost 2.5 points, depending on where you measured and indexed that opening spot. However, the spot that I was looking at here is on this total. The total opened at 217.5. It's moved down to 216.5, even some 215.5s that are starting to come out there. 62% of the bets, 83% of the cash on that under. And that's the spot that I liked as well. I looked at it at 217 earlier today when we were getting into this thing. Basically, the spot comes down to, you got a team, when a team combines for 3 games in a row without covering the spread. So 3 straight non-covers, right? They're not winning by margin. That means they're not covering. 3 straight non-covers in a row. For whatever reason, it's that 4th game that's gone under. It's 39-69 to the under, and it's going under by over 5 points, right? So you've got this exact spot right now. Portland Trailblazers have not covered 3 games in a row. Now they're in that situation where they're 39-69 to the under. Also, those teams fall at a 44-69 money line spot as well. So a lot of points on that Toronto Raptors side of things. That's not where I want to get involved when it comes to the spread. I certainly don't like that big number with a Toronto team. The Trailblazers are bad, though. I mean, they're bad. And I think we had that Clippers game. It's funny. I can't remember some of the wins, but certainly can remember a lot of the losses that come across the table. And I remember that Trailblazer spot there. We had that under in game 1. I want to say it was against the Clippers. And that game sailed over the number. The Trailblazers stink. They're not good enough to be competitive. Do I feel better about the 7.5? I mean, I guess, but for me, I wanted to take a look at that under. It's a lean for me at this point. It's an under lean. I don't have any action in the Heat Bucks game on the calendar here, or the next game on the docket. I see the Bucks are -5. I'll just kind of give you guys a quick breakdown on the splits here. It opened at +5.5. It's moved to 6.5, but this is going to depend on the book. We've got 78% of the bets, 86% of the cash on the Milwaukee Bucks. The current numbers I see out there are 5s and 5.5. So, and again, if you're looking for the Heat, there's some 6.5s out there. So make sure you line shop if you're looking at this game. I really don't want anything to do with it. Look at this total. You got 223.5 is where the total opened. It still sits at 223.5. 54% of the bets and 84% of the cash on the over. And Vegas doesn't really seem to be too concerned about it. So it's just a straight pass for me. I don't want anything to do with that game. I don't have any action. I don't have any looks on it. I probably won't even talk about it again after I mention this last component to it, and then we will move along and keep it rolling. Next game up, we're going to talk about big showdown here. Big showdown with the Golden State Warriors and the New Orleans Pelicanos. We got a great matchup here. Excited about this one. 83% of the bets, 95% of the cash on the Pelicanos. Fly, Pelican, fly. They're going to fly. All right, tonight I think they're going to get it done. There's 233 is where the total opened up. We've got 50% of the bets, 88% of the cash on the under, and we're seeing considerable movement on this number. I know this one book's kind of posted wrong. The total that I see is 225 out there right now. Make sure I get your line shop. This one says that FanDuel's got a 231. I just looked at FanDuel. They do not have a 231. So the number I saw for this game was 225. It's an official lean for me, as well as the Pelican side of things. I just couldn't quite get there just yet. I've got enough action on the card. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about with this game specifically, the Chris Paul factor, right? So, for anybody that's been keeping track at home, Golden State has gone under every single game this season, and it's very much the Chris Paul factor. Now, I think Draymond Green should be back tonight. I saw some notice that he was going to take warm-ups and he was going to see how it turned out. But, I wanted to point this out with the Chris Paul factor. So in 27, I came across this on X, and I was like, this is really some compelling numbers and something for us to keep in mind when we're looking at measuring these numbers down the road. Houston, going back when Chris Paul joined the Rockets in 2017, their pace went from 102.5 to 99.5. They went under 1 and 6 times to the under their first 7 games, going under by 10 points or more. Then he joins OKC in 2019. The pace drops from 106 to 101. His first 7 games, 6-1 to the under. Every single one of those game unders went by 15 or more. And then, of course, he joins the Suns. joins the Suns in 2020. Their pace drops from 103 to 99.75. First 6 games in a row, all to the under, and they went under by 18 or more points. Now he's at Golden State. Golden State ranked 4th in pace last season. 104.78 was the average. Not enough game out there to measure exactly where we're going, but one thing I wanted to point out with this number is that we've seen it every single game that Chris Paul has been a factor for the first 7 of the team that he's joined have gone under by double digits. Last season's average for Golden State, 233.2. We're right about that fine line with this 225. I was comfortable with the lean on it, so it'll get a quarter unit from me. But, I just wanted to point that out that we see 233 as the average. We're seeing the Chris Paul factors by 10. Kind of means that number, the basement, I think, for that number should be around 222. So bear that in mind as you're live betting. If you see that thing drop well below 222, you may want to consider an opportunity to hit that over. So let's see what we have here in the chat. I know we're moving pretty quickly. A lot to cover. We got a nice big live stream tonight as well for Monday Night Football. Got to give you some time to get those bets and get these bets in. I got to get my bets in. Bet. Truth Teller says, got the show muted. Split screen in MLB and NFL tonight. I got a good feeling tonight we're going to cash big, says Londo. I think so too, Londo. It's our Monday here. We're ready to roll. We're into week 2 of the show. Truth Teller says, my only NBA play, Lakers, Pelicans, money line parlay. Londo says, I'm tailing all your NBA bets, Mike. Let's cash big tonight. I hope so, Londo. Me too, man. We need a big night here. It was a great weekend. Would have liked to bet more in the NFL, but college football was a killer, and excited to roll that money into this week. Daddy Cab says, smoke my dude in the middle of lessons, but wanted to come by. Daddy Cab, I appreciate you. We had a great Medicate Monday. A lot of plays shared out there today. If you guys haven't checked that out already, check out this sesh. Daddy Cab, Dutch and the boys getting out there, kicking it, smoking up, getting them planes in the air, giving you guys picks to get paid. Truth Teller put a bet on overtime, and I really like it. I think tonight is the night. I think he's talking about the NFL game, but we will see. Jay Peasy says, I see that big ass line move to the Raiders, though. I guess I didn't see that as of late. I'll have to take a refresh when we get to the NFL. Whitchubb says, Goff going to be running for his life when that meth head Crosby comes out head hunting for that noodle arm. Man, that is a well-written smack talk there. I'm gonna move it right along here. I see Jared Bessie in here. Appreciate you joining us today. Everybody that joined us out there in the chat. I see Kelly V. The gang Kelly V says she likes Minnesota -1, Milwaukee over in the SGA points. I saw that number too. I think 29.5 was the number I saw there. Thomas points, under points, Memphis. It's tough for me to read. But appreciate you sharing the action. Keep it going. Make sure you guys all take the opportunity to put your action out there. I see you, Wine Time Sports, finishing up at work. Wanted to stop in and say what's up. I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here. We're going to keep this train rolling. We've got quite a few more games to cover. We're 24 minutes deep in this show. We're still on the NBA. But again, I wanted to start with the association. I know a lot of you guys want to get plays out there, give you some things to consider. The next play that we're going to talk about for me is this Mavericks and Grizzlies game. The Mavericks here, I should say the Grizzlies opened up at +2, 45% of the bets, 68% of the cash, 45% of the bets, 68% of the cash. That number's moved. This is another one that was slight movement. We see the Mavericks opened up at -2. They're down to -1 in some spots. We saw the Grizzlies open up at 2, and now they're up to 2.5 at some spots. So the number I did lock down was 2.5. And, look at this money line spot too. So you see kind of what we talked about a couple of games back. We've got a -130 for the Mavericks, 88% of the bets, 68% of the cash. That line's moved down to -115 on the Mavericks. So I didn't feel there was enough risk return or risk reward for me to go with the +116. I like the plus money spots. And you know what, if you're really hard pressed to say it, then yeah, I would take the Grizzlies money line, but I do think they can win this game outright. What we do have though is this real short number here. We've got the Grizzlies. We know what they did last year. We talked about this already. We've already made some money fading the Grizzlies at home, but one of the spots I did want to kind of point out here, Dallas is 2-22 against the spread when they're playing a team that's got a worse record than them after they came off a game in a non-divisional opponent spot. So non-divisional opponent when they're playing a scrubbier team in terms of the record, 2-22 against the spread. It's kind of an intersecting point for me because I also have Memphis. When Memphis is home, they're 15-0 against the spread as a dog as long as it's less than 9 points. Now, a little caveat to that is obviously the Ja Morant factor is driving these guys into being a dog. And when they were so dominant at home, they weren't in that dog role very often. So kind of dissecting that 15-0 spot to me says I think Memphis gets this job done. I think they're due for this opportunity to come back and get this game. Could it come down to a bucket? Probably. I think, Dallas has been battling hard. They're a team that's been playing, incredibly well. I think they're probably early achieving. And I think the Grizzlies clearly are in a spot where they're underachieving here, but I think they get the ship right tonight. I like that Grizzlies. I got him in at +2.5. I also put a lean out there to Luka. Luka specifically in his rebound spot there. I saw 9.5 on his rebounds at -105. Just feels like he's got to play strong for them to be competitive in this game. The short number to me is kind of what led me to saying Luka's just a lean. He's not an official play. I just kind of thought for some reason I've got that guy kind of in my head from a rebounds. I would even say assists. I don't know about the points though. I don't know that he's going to deliver enough in the point production to help the Mavericks get there and get that victory. I think it's more that opportunity. Again, I like that +2.5. That's an official play for me, but I lean on the Luka side of things. Keeping it rolling. Next game on the docket, pretty straightforward spot here. Detroit Pistons, OKC Thunder. You'll see that my official play for this game is a prop. We'll talk about it in just a second. +5 is where this number opened up for the Pistons. It's now +6 in some spots out there. 66% of the bets, 80% of the cash on the OKC Thunder. Boy, that makes me nervous. If I was a Thunder fan, like the Thunder last year have been a team that cashed a ton, but they were in the dog roll a lot. They were getting a lot of points and they were just battling and finding a way not to lose by margin. This year, it's kind of flip-flop. The expectations are a lot higher. And if anything, I would lean to the Pistons side of things just because I think the Pistons they're playing harder. They're a more complete team right now. And they've covered every single spread they've had this season. So it wasn't enough ultimately for me to get there on the Pistons. But the one spot I did want to talk about is the Cade Cunningham prop. His over 6.5 assists. Absolutely a spot that I locked down. This was the first play that I locked down on the NBA card today. I was concerned it might move. I got it in at -125. And just simply put, this is cash every single game this season. I think they're not going to have him sitting out there against SGA. I think he doesn't want to get in foul trouble. And we know SGA as one of the stars for OKC certainly is going to get the eye of the ref and potentially put, whoever is covering him in foul trouble. And I don't think that's going to be Cade Cunningham tonight. I think, as the main point guard on the team, he went out last game. He had 18 chances from the assist perspective. And it just feels like it's a low line to me. It's a low number. He's averaging 10 assists or more when he's playing 35 minutes plus on the court. I expect a big game as long as he's not up there against SGA. I felt like that was a good spot. The other thing I wanted to talk about here is that Duran rebound number. We took him last week at 10.5 and it was plus money. It was like +106. The books are starting to figure this thing out now. This number's moved to 12.5 and it's 12.5 at -130. So I'm going to hop off that train for the time being. We'll see if it gets a little course correction or that number settles back down a little bit. But we made great money on it last week. So we'll take that cash. We'll move on and we'll change our focus to Cade Cunningham. And I also had a note out there for the SGA over 29.5 points. It's a little juicy and it's kind of a lot of points in my opinion for a game that I kind of think could potentially hit that under. So I just couldn't get there and pull the trigger on it. But Cade Cunningham gets me action in this game. And I see Craig Wood says Cunningham coming back to Oklahoma. He's a Texas kid, played college ball at Oak State, semi-homecoming return here. I think it's going to be a big game for him. I think it's excited. Whit Chubb says that mixed eye is plus EV tonight. Mixed eye. Max Scherzer, I think is what he's talking about there. So, it's tough to read some of these things as I'm flying down the pike, you guys, but I appreciate you throwing the comments out there. Whit Chubb says John Morant's on work release. I don't know about that, but I know he's not going to be playing tonight. And Jay Peasy says, good point, Craig. I forgot CC played at Oak State. A lot of fun when he was out there at Oak State. That was probably one of their better teams they've had in the last dozen years or so. But we're going to roll right on. Next game up on the docket for us. Almost done with I was going to say the WNBA. Almost done with the NBA. Woo! I'm excited about this game here. This is probably one of the prop games that I have where I'm not on a side or a total, but I lit this prop board up. And I've got a lean as well in this game, but let's talk about these numbers. Let's talk about these splits here. We'll look at this game. The Jazz, the Nuggets. The Nuggets have been playing some darn good ball. The Jazz opened up at plus 6.5. There's 43% of the bets, 86% of the cash all over the Jazz, and the line has moved 2 points in the Nuggets direction. So Vegas sees all that cash coming in, and they're saying, guess what? We see it. We like it. If you like it, let me give you 2 more points and see if you come back and bet it again. So not a good sign in terms of people thinking about the Jazz tonight, but that doesn't mean the end all be all. The total, 38% of the bets, 87% of the cash on the over. The number opened at 231, and now we've got 226.5 to 229.5 out there. So line shop that spot if you're looking for the total. Let me break it down by the numbers here. I guess the first spot I looked at, this is one of those, there's a couple of games that qualified tonight when the team hasn't covered the spread 3 times in a row. That fourth game goes under 39 and 69 to the under by 5.5 points. This game fell into that criteria as well. The 229.5 under is a lean for me in this game. I want to shout out our guy, Dabby Cab. We talked about it earlier today. He's got the Jordan Clarkson over 1.5 threes. I wanted to put that out there because, when Dabby plays that spot, it cashes. And he doesn't play it every single day, but it's worth noting that when this guy's out there saying that it's going to happen, it happens. And it's a little juicy for me at minus 135. But again, line shop, because you may be able to catch that discount. Or if he has a sluggish start, you may be able to catch a nice live number with a plus spot out there. I looked at Joker over 8.5 assists as a lean for me in this game. Last year, regular season home games when they were winning, 23 of 24 times he covered that number. He hasn't gotten there this year. His numbers have been a little bit down. I think he's averaging 7.7. So it's a little lofty for me to get there and say if he's only averaging 7.7, why would I want to pay all that juice for the 8.5? But some of you guys like the same game parlay, and that's certainly a look that I would consider. Another spot that I was so close to pulling the trigger on is the Walker Kessler double-double. He had a bad game last game. No way around it. And he hasn't gotten that number this year, but he started off the season 7 points and 7 rebounds his first game. Then he had 8 points and 8 rebounds his second game. And when he's in a dog situation, with the Utah Jazz, when they're playing the Western Conference dog spot, Utah Jazz, he's gotten a double-double 4 of his last 5 spots here. We saw that he was trending with 7 and 7 and then 8 and 8. That bad game to me is what made this number plus 500. It grabbed my attention because it's 5-1 your money. Again, even if it's just a quarter shot as I'm playing these leans, I think that's just a great opportunity for a return with a guy that's shown that when the Utah Jazz are in the dog roll, they count on him. They lean on him, and he finds a way to deliver 4 of his last 5 at plus 500. The official play for me this game, though, I had to go to Michael Porter Jr. over 7.5 rebounds. Opened up at even money plus 100. Now it's down to minus 105, so we are seeing some movement here. But this is just strictly a play based on watching how this guy started his season off, right? He's big. He's 7 feet tall. He's a monster. The guy's like a tree out there. And what did he do in the offseason? He added weight. He added strength. He spent time clearly in the gym getting his game right. He's out there 28 of 34 rebounds this season already through the first couple of games. He's averaging 11.3 a game. Also, he's coming off a rest spot. They had such a blowout going on that last game that they were able to rest him. And then what we saw was Peyton Watson ended up playing the most minutes. That's the backup for Michael Porter Jr. Ended up playing the most minutes he had since last April. So you got a rested situation with a guy that's fired up and motivated to come in. He's averaging almost 4 points more than what this line is set at, and it's darn near even money. Yeah, Lauri Markkanen's a big dude on the other side of things, and this was that Olnick, but I just think he's playing better. He's just outplaying the guys that he's lined up against right now. He's been able to generate those numbers. That's one of my favorite props on the card, Michael Porter Jr. over 7.5 rebounds. We keep it rolling. I see Kush God 312 KG says Corey Seager to get a hit. New Orleans Pelicans money line on FanDuel plus 103. Cash it. Well, we're going to need to take a little bit longer before we cash it, but I like where your head's at with that one as well. Boogie Main's out there. What's up? Let's get that cash. Let's keep it rolling with Chubb. Max on record. What y'all think? Lions -1, Falcons +1 teaser. With Chubb, enough Real Housewives of the NBA. Let's cap the NFL and World Series, baby. You got it. We're going to roll. On that note, we will roll. We've got one game left to talk about in the National Basketball Association. Last game. This is my favorite side of the card here. Short, sweet, and to the point. I like this Orlando Magic team. I gave this out earlier today on the sesh at +3. It's +3 again. It saw a little dippage there to 2.5. Buyer beware if the lines and the splits do, kind of concern you. You've got 52% of the bets, 91% of the cash on this Magic side of the house. And the line, it opened at 4. It's dropped down to 3 and then 2.5. I even see some 1.5s out there. So we're starting to see a little steam on it. Because it's a 10:30 Eastern start game, we've only got 19,000 in the sample compared to some that have 60, 70,000 tickets out there. So I expect this number is going to continue to move. And look, this is just a basics kind of common sense type of play for me. We'll see. I don't want to use the word common sense because I don't want to jinx myself. I do believe in the jinx. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. But look, the Lakers are in a back-to-back, right? Last game, it was an overtime game, and they lost. So one thing to go into overtime and then get the job done and get the victory. Like, you can maybe ride that high a little bit or that momentum, but they outright lost, and they lost by 5 points, I believe was the final total. LeBron's old. He hasn't hit his point props. Even with last game, he's been missing the numbers that are being targeted out there. We're seeing that he's no longer a top 10 player. And AD is just inconsistent as all get out. On the flip side of things, you got an Orlando team that's young. They're athletic. They've got the rest advantage. They just came off a game against Portland 2 days beforehand, and it was Portland, and they beat them comfortably. So I just like this red-hot Orlando team right now. We can take an opportunity to take advantage of the aging Lakers off a back-to-back spot with no rest. It's a rest advantage. You're getting a couple of points on the road. I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to take that money line, but again, make sure you shop, because I see the money lines anywhere from plus 135 to plus 140s, and that's going to bring us to a close on the NBA. We'll keep it rolling. Appreciate you guys hanging in there, staying on with us. Man, we're over 120 strong. Please, guys, do us that favor. If you like what you're hearing, a lot of work goes into this stuff. All I ask is you hit that like button, retweet, like the YouTube video. Sounds like I'm asking quite a bit. It takes about a split second to do all 3 of those. And of course, if you haven't done so already, become a member, show your support, subscribe to Pub Sports Radio. $4.99 a month to be a member. Helps us deliver new content, provide the tools we need to help you guys get on those winners as well. On that Heat says Orlando had 2 days to F off in LA. Yeah, but they're professionals. Fletcher Berry says, Mike, what's your favorite cocktail? I'm a sugar-free Red Bull and vodka guy myself, but I like a whiskey on the side of that as well. Give me a little Jack Daniels number 7. Since you're asking, I'll tell you. Max on record says Falcons without Ryder going to the Super Bowl. You know what's funny? I sent a message to our guy, Jimmy the Bag. I had the opportunity to sit in for Troy Torrance on the NBA show or the NFL show a couple weeks back. And I predicted that Ryder was going to come out at halftime and the Heineke era was going to begin. And of course, what happened last week, the week after I predicted it, of course, he comes out at halftime and it looks like they're still not willing to put Ryder in there as the starter. So darn it if I wasn't 1 week too early in that prediction, but I think they're moving in the right direction. So let's keep it rolling. We're going to go next game up on the board here. We're going to jump into the National Football League. We got that Raiders. We got that Lions spot. I'll give you guys the splits. I'll talk to you guys a little bit about an intersecting spot. We got a big live stream tonight. The gang's assembled and ready to rock. They've all got their plays and positions ready to go. That's going to start shortly after this show is finished. But we've got the Lions that opened at -4.5. Now the Lions are 6.5, but there are some 7.5 if you're thinking about the other side of the house there. If you're thinking about jumping on the Raiders, again, make sure you get that best line that's out there. Behoove yourself with a whole point around that key number of 7 to do that extra due diligence and line shop. 83% of the bets, 91% of the cash on them Lions at -6.5 now. Again, that number opened at 4.5. We see 6.5, 7s, and even 7.5s out there. The total, 57% of the bets on the over, 42% of the cash. But we've seen a downward trajectory of 3 points and even 4 points. It's a primetime game. You guys know those primetime unders are happening and happening at a high rate. If you've been riding that trend, gosh, I'd have a hard-pressed time not to think that you would want to keep riding it. I do think we see some points tonight in this game. A couple of spots that I jumped in on. Here's an intersecting 0 spot. So when I talk about intersecting 0, we need to get like an alarm or a buzzer or a whistle or something that talks about this intersecting 0, because I think this is a real opportunity here, and it fits this situation perfectly. First and foremost, Detroit, after getting embarrassed on national television, not a spot. They want to get that. I know a lot of people have talked about that narrative. Professionals, they did not perform. They got embarrassed. They took an L. They're going to want to start out, in my opinion, hot and hungry here. But what we do have is we've got Detroit after a situation where they lost by 10 or more points and allowed 30 or more points, are 7-0 against the spread that following game. Straight up and against the spread. So 7-0 Detroit after getting beat up, and I had to find beat up in this case pretty simply. They lost by double digits and they allowed 30 plus points. They got beat up. Also, when They've won 2 of their last 3 games in this season. They're 8-0 straight up by 15 points. They're 8-0 against the spread by 13.75 points. So that would almost suggest a 20. I know last week we talked a little bit about reading the lines and trying to find those adjusted spread numbers. We'll keep looking at that kind of stuff throughout the season, but here's where it's intersecting zeros. This trend has cashed for me 3 times this year already with the Las Vegas Raiders. Vegas, 0-14-1. The no wins since 2017 when they're not a double-digit dog and they ran for less than 65 yards last game. It's the 3rd time it's happened this season. It might even be the 4th. I'll have to go back and look. I know I cashed on it every single time it's come out. And it goes right back to that Buffalo Bills game in what was that, week 2 or week 3 of the season. So very much an intersecting spot. You got Vegas in an 0-4 victory spot. You got Detroit in an 0-4 loss spot. It fits perfectly to how Vegas really stunk to join up last week. Detroit embarrassed themselves, wanting to come back. My official play to start for this thing here is I got Detroit in the first half -3.5. That's the first play I'm going to have for this game. I'll probably get a couple more that we'll talk about as we transition over later tonight. But a couple other spots that I looked at there was Detroit -7. It's a lean for me at this point. I did hammer away on that first half. I think that their bounce back early spot is key here. I also think that Josh Jacobs under 62.5 rushing yards bears merit here, specifically because since they've gotten the quarterback changes out there, Jimmy Garoppolo, the usage rate for Jacobs, where he was averaging 98 yards a game last season, are all the way down to 70 and less. 65 is what the numbers I'm seeing out there now. So in a game where I predict Detroit's going to hammer down on these boys pretty good, there's not going to be a lot of opportunity for Jacobs to run in that second half. They're going to be getting blown out, in my opinion, but we'll see how that plays out. Also, I like the Laporta touchdown prop. It's not as generous in the number that I would like. I see it at +145, but the big thing for me here is, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I believe he's battling the flu. And, we saw that, Patrick Mahomes yesterday battling the flu. Didn't get it done. The flu isn't what it used to be. With all these other viruses and things flying around, it's difficult for these guys if they're in a weakened state. So you got Amon-Ra St. Brown dealing with the potential flu bug. You got Laporta coming off there, explosive guy, great numbers and opportunities for him. I like him to get a touchdown. I might get him on the first touchdown. I like his targets over. But again, the first official play for me is that first half -3.5. I'm going to have to let it sit a little bit as we talk about the rest of these games and then transition over to this live stream. 643. We've got 128 plus. We got a new member. Excuse me. Kush God 312 KG. Appreciate you becoming a new member, my guy. Thank you very much for the support. I'm going to cheers you with a glass of water, and then I will make sure the next show I follow it up with a strong cocktail. Appreciate you guys, all you showing up here, ready to roll. JPZ says Pacer money line creeping up to -149 now. Locked it in pre-show. I've done the show now. It's given me, it's forced me to get in earlier because when we get to 7 o'clock, sometimes these games are starting and I don't have the time. So Director 97 says Pip Slap. I like those Lions first half. Me too. I think that's a really good spot. You might even be able to get some threes out there. Justin says Grizzlies -2 now. I got it on Medicate +2.5. Absolutely, Justin. We're starting to move in the right direction, boys and girls. We're getting there. We're finding some CLV, but hopefully that CLV turns to actual cash in our pockets. Ricky Bobby says Bam out for the Heat. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that game. We talked about that earlier, but I want to transition. We've got 2 more sports to go here. We've got the NHL. I'm going to rapid fire through the NHL, give you guys a couple of looks there. Then we're going to close the show out talking about some World Series spots. I've had a tremendous last couple of weeks, specifically in Major League Baseball. I want to make sure that I can get that to you guys here. Looking at this game here, just keeping things rapid fire. I talked to you before about splits. Not a lot of ticket count when it comes to the NHL. You're not going to find the pros versus the Joes situations like you might in other sports. In this game here, though, I try to capture and look at the motivation spot. 2 plays you'll notice on the screen here. The first is I've got a lean. I lean to Boston in regulation. I'm not going to drop that cash flow on them, but for anybody that's not aware, Boston was the best team in the NHL last year by statistics. President's Cup trophy winner means that they had the best NHL regular season record. And then what happened? They lost in the first round of the playoffs. Who'd they lose to? They lost to the Florida Panthers. So there's got to be revenge on the mind. Boston Bruins have won every game at home this season in regulation. So I don't think that's going to change here in this spot. I lean to the Boston in regulation spot, but you'll see, I also put a parlay out there and you see parlay corner in the screen. It's the Boston Bruins money line not regulation, Boston Bruins money line, and I parlayed it with the Carolina Hurricanes. I'll talk to you about why I got the Hurricanes in there in just a minute, but I wanted to draw your attention to that parlay. I like the regulation spot for Boston. I think they're in the motivated situation, but I want to make sure that I capitalize. An official play for me is parlaying these two plays together at plus 145. Let's roll on to the next game. And I neglected to mention their goaltending wise. I do think it's just another advantage. They got Sergei Bobrovsky at 3-3 for the Panthers, and they've got Linus, I call him Lianis, damn right, Lianis Allmark in that net for the Boston Bruins at 3-0-1. I think, again, you guys have heard me say before, when these teams match up, I look at these goaltending matchups like I do with pitchers in Major League Baseball, and you kind of got to look at that advantage. Damn right, Lianis at home, 3-0-1. Good spot, I think, in that opportunity. We'll move on to the next game. I'm going to throw a little flag out there because something jumped off at me here, and I'll make sure that I talk about this game here in just a second. But I looked at it here. It's going to be something that I added after I sent everything over to T, so I had to take a strong look here. This Anaheim Ducks team, right? So take a look at this Anaheim Ducks spot when you get a chance. I see Justin V says the Ducks plus 1.5. I like the plus 1.5, Justin, but I'm not going to lay the odds. I'm going to go right to the money line for me. That's going to be an official show ad that I added. Plus 210 is the number that I got it at. Let me make sure this is a fresh number, and then I'll talk to you guys about specifically why I like that big money spot out there. And it's not just because I'm trying to throw a dart at a board here. I see plus 210 is the spot right now. Plus 210. There it is. WinBet New York, plus 210. So we're going to go official with this play here. We've got John Gibson for the Ducks. We've got Tristan Jarry lined up for the Penguins. John Gibson 1-3, Tristan Jarry 2-4. Really both mediocre goaltenders. And this is kind of where I started looking at this number backwards in. I said, why is there such an advantage right now for Pittsburgh Penguins? Is it because they're home? Is it because it can't be because they're 3-5? That's not a factor. No one's going to look at that and say, okay, well, let me go lay 220 or 200, 250 is the number that I see out there right now. Not going to happen. We got an even goaltending matchup. Here's the thing with Tristan Jarry. He's 2-4 with a 2.62 goals against average, 90% save. He's got 2 shutouts in that number, and then he's got 2 blowouts in that number. So his average, while it shows he's competitive, as I started to peek under the covers, I saw he's not really competitive. He had 2 big shutouts, which is huge. That certainly means that he played well, but those blowouts were kind of what got my attention more. Plus, you've got the Anaheim Ducks. They've won 3 games in a row. Nobody's talking about them because they stink, but they're out there on the East Coast now, winning 3 games in a row, and they're outscoring their opponents 14-9. The current win streak, the momentum that Anaheim has, the suspect nature of the goaltending and Tristan Jarry for the Pittsburgh Penguins lock me down at Anaheim Ducks plus 210. If you want to take the plus 1.5, you can't get mad at anybody that's looking at that spot. Just for me, I had to go in that direction. Lock me down. That's a last minute show ad that I will make for official record keeping and tracking purposes. We'll keep rolling here really quick for you guys. The second leg of that parlay I wanted to talk about: Frederik Andersen versus Carter Hart, the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Philadelphia Flyers. A lot of people jumping in saying Flyers, Flyers, Flyers. Not me. You guys know I'm a Flyers guy. You see it behind me on the wall. But I've got Carolina Hurricanes just in the spot here. Frederik Andersen's come back from injury. He took the morning skate. He's the guy, although it says likely and not official and confirmed, he is the guy that should be starting tonight. And Carter Hart's in a contract here, right? He's trying to get that cash, but Philadelphia breaks goaltenders. And I know everyone's saying good things about Carter Hart. I hope they don't for the long term of the career of the Flyers and their opportunities. But they put a lot of pressure on these young guys that are in these spots, especially at goaltending. They've done some things to strengthen up their defense this past offseason, but I don't think it's enough. Give me that second leg of the parlay is going to be that Carolina Hurricanes at plus 145. All right, a couple more hockey spots. Then we're going to jump over, change gears. We're going to cover you guys and close you out with Major League Baseball. Give you some time to get these bets in and sit about it. Justin B says, what about over goals on the Flyers game? Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. The only challenge I had there is that it's really 2 strong goaltenders that should be able to shut down the opposition on both sides alike. So do we see a lot of power plays and penalty kills? That would support Carolina as well for me. I know at home Flyers have been getting the pucks to go in the net. I just couldn't get there at the end of the day for me. I wish I could say yes or no one way or the other. If anything, I would consider maybe that first period under. And then maybe try to live bet that play. But those are just off the cuff. Like I said, my parlay play is the Boston Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. Moving right along, third game on the card that we're going to cover. Actually, I guess it's the 4th game now. Sorry. One back to you. I screwed you up there. My bad. I'm going to go with this New York Ranger spot. Pretty short and sweet as well. Igor Shesterkin's expected at 4-2 versus Connor Hellebuyck at 4-2. Goaltending battles here. We got a 2.69 goals against average for Igor Shesterkin, 90% save percentage. 2.98 goals against average for Connor Hellebuyck, 89.9% save advantage. Again, two evenly matched teams here. I just think that in this case, the Rangers are the better team. At the end of the day, for me, how do you want to measure it? How do you want to monetize? I just looked at the offseason moves, the playoff potentials out there. Connor Hellebuyck does have 3 good games in a row going with a 94.8 save percentage. But where I think the advantage comes in here is Shesterkin at 2.69 goals against average and a 90% save percentage is slower start than his career average. His career average is 2.39 goals against, 92.3%. When I put those two factors together, I think that we're at the ceiling of Connor. I think we're at the floor for Shesterkin. And the Rangers, as a small road favorite at minus 120, was the spot that I had to jump in on and take advantage of. So that's an official play for me, the New York Rangers. Next game up, keep this train rolling. Kind of a weird little spot for me here was a little head scratcher. I wanted to look at this thing with the Islanders and the way they play hockey, and I wanted to pull the trigger on the under. We got Ville Husso versus Sorokin in the net there. Husso's at 3-2-1. Sorokin's 3-1-1. Kind of, again, breaking down this goaltending battle. You know, what we know about the Islanders is they like to kind of play that lockdown, shut them down type of game. But they've gotten themselves into some score fest lately. And couple that with the Detroit Red Wings, who are third in the NHL, averaging 4 goals per game. You got these goaltenders in Husso with a 3.33 goals against average, 89% saves. And you got Sorokin on the other side of things with a 2.79 goals against average, 91.5% save percentage. I measured this. I talked about it last week. We cashed on it. There's a couple of teams that after you play these teams, you come out and the games that end up going over. In this case, if you either played Columbus, Washington, or Winnipeg your last game, you're 14-7 straight up. You're 16-5 to the over, and it's going over by a full goal on the total. We're seeing almost 7s out there on those totals. So my play for this game, I went with the Detroit Red Wings. I got the over 6 at even money. As well as you might see that this should be an under game. You've got too much going on with the offenses, too much going on with the suspect nature of the goaltenders. Couple that with the team that's leaving 3 situations in the NHL, ending up going over those next games. I locked down that over 6, even money spot, plus 100. There's even 5.5s out there right now. Yeah, you could consider that 5.5, I guess, but I would rather not pay the juice for the 5.5 and have that 6 and even money because I expect that we see 7 goals in this game. Rolling right on down the line here. See what we got out there in the chat. We'll give you guys one more buzz through here. Earl Sports Bets. There he is. His pass in this game. Islanders are 4-0 straight up as a favorite, but 0-3 straight up as a dog. This Islanders team is predictable, but I like the total. So, yeah, they can win. They could lose, but I just need to see some goals get in that net there. Joseph Sasso says, at BK, have it your way. You rule. Craig Wood says both teams are top 5 in first period over goals this year. Justin B, we already talked about that one as well, so we're caught up on the crew. Bo Jackson says, feed the ducks while they're quacking. Take ducks to score first as well. I like that look. I like that look a lot. Toe Miggins says LFG. Let's go. Let's roll on to this next game here. This is a lean for me. I haven't gotten there. It's a late game, too, so I've got opportunity to consider it. I'm looking at this Vegas Golden Knights, Montreal, Les Habitants, the Canadiens, Montembeault for the Canadiens, a world champion in himself there. This past offseason versus Aiden Hill at 4-0-1. I expect to see some goals in this game here. Bottom line, Montembeault's 3.28 goals against average, 90% save percentage, where we have Aiden Hill on the other side of things with a 2.16 goals against average, 91% save percentage. Vegas ranks 6th in scoring, and they're pissed. They're pissed because they had a streak going this year, and they lost. They lost in overtime to the Chicago Blackhawks. So the streak's over. The Blackhawks came in, tighten them up in overtime. Big game for Connor Bedard getting on the board out there in Vegas as well. But the Habs have won 4 of their last 5. So I think here's a situation where we've got emotion and momentum versus emotion and momentum. And so, iron sharpens iron, right? Or steel sharpens steel, or something sharper than something. I think in this case here, we're going to see these teams get the job done. Home favorites after the Kings game, by the way, there's another one of those teams, home favorites after a Kings game are 24-4. If you like Vegas, I'm not laying the juice on that side of things. But again, home teams or NHL teams after games between Columbus, Washington, and Winnipeg, 16-5 to the over. I think we do see goals in this game here. 6.5 is the number that I got pegged at plus 104. I think it's going to probably end up being like a 4-3 type of game, maybe a 5-4 type of game. I think overtime's in play as well. Just a lean for me now. But the last official play I have in the NHL and we'll keep it rolling, is this Blackhawks Coyotes game here. Blackhawks Coyotes. Coyotes came through for us with that big LA King comeback there. We ended up winning that game 5-4, cashed a big boatload of cash on that thing. A lot of fun for that game there. As I look at this game, though, we've got Arvid Soderblom with 5 goals on 24 shots on the Blackhawks side of things. His debut stunk the place up. They yanked him. He was just horrible. Connor Ingram on the other side, 1-1 with a 3.18 goals against average, 89% save percentage. Why did I go to the under in this game? Because it just feels to me like it's that spot that makes the most sense. We've got a team, home favorite after the Kings game, 24-4. Yeah, 2 teams qualify for that home favorite situation. Why? Because there was a day of rest in between there. So, I expect Arizona to get the job done, but I'm not going to go out there and lay this number. But I kind of looked at the psychology of these teams. You got a goaltender, a young goaltender that just got shelled in Chicago. And then you got the Coyotes who just don't score enough goals to get the job done. Yeah, they came out and they scored 4 goals in that first period or first and a half period with the Kings the other night at home. But back-to-back home games, I think they're going to want to support their goaltenders as well. I think we're going to see a defensive-first approach, not just to blaze this place on fire and score all over the place type of game. I locked it in. It's an official play for me. Arizona under 6.5. I think they want to support their goaltenders. They know that these guys are potentially the future. They need to get their backs. They need to play defense first. And Chicago kind of coming in off that Vegas spot, I think it's a good opportunity for a low-scoring affair here, under 6.5 at -120. Maybe we see a 3-2 type of game or a 4-2 type of game with an empty netter as well. But I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to lay -200 with the Arizona Coyotes. There's no way that they deserve to be a -200. And that being said, Vegas, Chicago coming off that big win against Vegas, I don't want to get on that side of things either. I would expect there to be less scoring than most people would think in this game, and that's why I locked in that under 6.5. We already talked about the parlay. It's going to bring us to the final spot, 2 minutes before 7 o'clock. Want to get this thing covered for you guys. Want to make sure we talk about the details here as well. A couple of spots that I'm looking at for this game, probably contrarian to what most people are kind of taking advantage of out there. Oh, we've got 56% of the bets, 65% of the money on the road team in the Texas Rangers. And that's the play that I made. I took the Texas Rangers out there. It's -110 now. So, I see -112s. Look, Mad Max, this is why they brought Scherzer in. I said this the last time Scherzer started as well. It's a big game moment. They got this guy in here to play big games. You got the 9-0 is Max Scherzer's record against the Arizona Diamondbacks. 9-0 with a 2.65 ERA. He's got 111 strikeouts in 12 games against these guys. 9-0, 111 strikeouts. Huge opportunity. I just think this is a big game moment for this guy, and he's a big game player. So that coupled with the fact that Texas Rangers haven't lost a game all season on the road in the postseason, rather, is just another spot that I had to look at here. I can't not take Texas. I understand Arizona. I think they've had a good break with it, but I'm moving on and I'm moving away from those guys here tonight. I'm officially locked in with the Texas Rangers. I also like Max Scherzer to get over 4.5 strikeouts. Even money spot for Scherzer. It's a lean for me at this point. I don't know that I'll officially pull the trigger more than just a quarter unit play, but I just think here's a guy, big moment spot for him. And he's seen these guys before. He's not scared of them. Couple that with what I expect as a gameplay or a script of this game is more of an under spot. So why do I say that? Major League playoff games, in game 3, if they went over their first 2 games, the under has hit 19-12, right? 19 times to the under, 12 times to the over when it comes to game 3. Arizona's already had that qualified this year. If you remember that last series against the Phillies, what happened? 2 monster over games. Then they come back to Arizona, and it's a screeching under game out there. I think the final was 2-1 or 3-1. Screeched way under that total. And if it's going to go under, then I like Scherzer to be able to contribute to that under and put some Ks on the board here. So I lean the Ks. And then I'm going to shout out our guy, LJ from H-Town, H-Town's finest out there. He clued me onto this one a couple of months back, and it's been nothing but cash. He also shared it today on the Daily Sesh. The Corey Seager over 1.5 bases. This is that spot where he was shut out last game, and he delivers at a high rate after he's been shut out. I saw it at -112 earlier. It's another lean for me on the card. I may try to widget together a same-game parlay for those spots, but that's going to bring us to close here. Again, I appreciate everybody taking the time to join with us here. I'll give you guys the rundown one last time on the card. Then we'll get this thing ready, and we'll launch into this evening here. I took the Indiana Pacers on the money line. I got the Boston Celtics under 230.5. I lean to the Timberwolves. I lean to the Toronto under 217, and I lean to the Golden State under 225 and New Orleans -3.5. I locked down Memphis at +2.5. I lean to Luka over 9.5 rebounds. I locked in the Cade Cunningham over 6.5 assists. I locked in Michael Porter Jr. over 7.5 rebounds. I like a lot of props in this game as well. I leaned at Walker Kessler double-double, plus 500. Jokic over 8.5 assists. Probably not my favorite lean, but it's a lean on the card. The Daddy Cab special, Jordan Clarkson over 1.5 threes. And Jazz under 229.5. All leans for me on that game. My last NBA spot of the card is the Orlando Magic. It's plus 3 out there now. Go ahead and take advantage of that. I like that first half, Detroit minus 3.5. That's an official play for me. We'll talk more about the NFL here in the next 30 minutes as we jump on the next program here. But Detroit minus 7 is a lean for me. Jacobs under 62.5 is a lean. Laporta touchdown is a lean for me as well. The NHL, I leaned at Boston in regulation. I locked in and added the last-minute show ad there. Anaheim Ducks at plus 210. I took the New York Rangers. I got that parlay with the Rangers and Carolina. I'm sorry, not the Rangers. The Bruins and Carolina Hurricanes. Parlay at plus 145. I took the New York Rangers outright at minus 120. I've got the over 6 in the Detroit game at even money. I've got the lean on the Vegas over 6.5 at plus 104. I like the Arizona Coyotes game to go under 6.5 at minus 120. I took the Texas Rangers official and then 2 leans in the Major League Baseball spot. Max Scherzer over 4.5 Ks at even money and Corey Seager over 1.5 bases. That's our show. Appreciate everybody dropping in here tonight. Last call, episode 6. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Rebecca Evans, Bo Jackson, Justin, Director 97. There's my guy, Nick Earl, Sports Bets, Coin, Bo Jackson, Tone Miggins. I want to shout out everybody that showed up here tonight. Our new members as well. Appreciate you guys. That means a ton. Thank you for spending the time with us. Shout out to Pub Sports Radio if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel. Become a member. It's $4.99 a month. Helps us a ton. Please get out there. Like, retweet the messaging tonight. If you want to throw your plays in the chat, we can talk about and recap them tomorrow as well. Appreciate everybody taking the opportunity tonight. Let's get that cash. I'll see you at 7:30.